So once you're set up in Windows, you can just go in Computer, and all the files you're ever going to need are in this iLink drive. So this is the D drive. You go in here, and then you have this directory. And you're going to go to ELCL, and then EXE. And whenever you're talking to SR, that's pretty much where any of the files they'll be having you work with are. So that's just something you can remember. So we're going to go to a file called physical.ini. So I just go there, double click it. It's just like a notepad file. And so here's where it has different coordinates entered, and that's where you change these numbers based on your setup. So if you flip back, this is step 3, but I included like further back here. It looks like this. It says measuring screen distance, and that's where it tells you like what to measure and where to put it. So there's 2 different settings that you might have to adjust. The first ones are screen coordinates, and so those are the first part in here. It's screen physical coordinates. And it gives you a little blurb about how to do it, so if you forget, you can read it in the file. Like, no worries, you can read it in the file and figure it out. But basically with that, I kind of did like Cliff Notes. You're going to measure the width of the screen, so again, just the display area. In centimeters, divide that by 2, and that's the width value you're going to enter in here. And then measure the height, same thing, divide by 2, that's your height. And then you're going to enter in here where it says the coordinates, negative W, H, W, and then negative H. Does all that make sense?
So you're actually putting it in this WordPad file?
Yes.
Okay.
And so any changes you make, like this is already set up for this monitor, so I'm not going to change that part now. But because even if I moved it, the coordinates didn't change. But for the distance, we'll change it every time based on where we set up. If we had a lab where we just brought participants, we could do it once and never touch it again. The fact that we're setting it up every single time, we really need to measure and put it in. So if you make any changes, though, you just key them in. It's just a WordPad, and then just save it. And it'll keep it the next time.
So you're doing that every time you set up?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, can you repeat? Did you go to File? You had to hit File and Save afterwards, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just did Control. I usually just do Control S. But
okay.
yeah, same as like a Word thing, just
okay.
save. So that's the screen coordinates. So again, like if you're like Patrick, you're always using the other monitor. You won't have to change that again after you do it the first time. But if it's a case where we were kind of using either or, we'd have to change the coordinates every time. But then what we are going to change is at the bottom is screen distance. And so this gives really detailed directions. But basically you'll measure from that front of the chin rest, like where Kristen was before, to the top of the display area. And then note that number. And then measure from that same thing to the bottom. And so on the screen you can see there's screen distance and there's 2 numbers. And like right now it's in millimeters, these ones are. The first one we talked about are centimeters. And these are millimeters. So this is 830 and 840 right now, which means 83 centimeters and 84. So 83 to top, 84 to bottom. They kind of have different formats too. Like there's commas between the ones up here, there's not down here. But whenever you're opening it, you'll just see what it's already like and just change the number part.
So could we maybe set I wonder if we were to write those numbers down and kind of have something with the system, so that I could, so if I go and set it up, if ideally I can set it up at that length and then wouldn't have to come back and make that change.
What am I missing? Instead of setting it up and entering that every time, wouldn't it be better to just get those exact measurements and
you can
measure
try
it exactly every time?
That's what we do. And so, I mean, it should be around the same because, remember, we got the calculation from the monitor. Yeah. And so we're going for around 82 1/4 to the actual monitor. So that should be about top 83, bottom 84, which is what it was last time. But sometimes it changes. Like, if you move the chin up, that distance is completely different.
That's right.
So depending on what kid, like, you want a good ballpark, but...
So you'd have to change this for every kid?
No, I don't think you need to do it that... I mean, it's going to be about that number of centimeters. But it does make a difference. I think more like, let's say you're at a school where the table is really low,
Yeah.
and you have the chairs, well then that's automatically, like, you're always going to start with the kids at a certain level. So I think it's fine to do this based on where you set up the thing to begin with. And then, like, minor adjustments, kid to kid, I think it'll be able to handle that. It should.
I would think it should, given that it's been completely
I
wrong
mean,
since this point.
it'll still work.
That's what I was, are we making it more precise but also more error prone if you don't do it every time, or is it sort of just
No.
zeroing it in better to what we should have
I
been
think
doing?
it's that. I mean,
Yeah.
it hasn't been so bad that it won't function. And
I-
if this is so wrong, it won't work. Like, we've seen that happen too.
I would guess our calibration is going to be better,
Yeah, exactly.
Cleaning will be better.
and cleaning will be a lot easier.
I think it just helps with that. And like maybe you might even lose the eye a little bit less. Like if this was outside of the trackable range before, if it was too close, you know, then maybe the eye could have gone off more when you're just adjusting slightly. So I think it'll just help with that. But I don't think you need to change it.
So kind of the other thing I would think about is, if you're having to adjust it for a kid.
Mm-hmm.
So if you've had to adjust the height a good bit for the kid or something, think about the ease of you. I mean, so yeah, it's time consuming, but you going here and making that change versus you having to run the kid through calibration 4 or 5 times is because you're going to aggravate that kid and mess with their eyes, and so I think you're much better off doing this.
Mm-hmm. So Andrew, do you want to do it since you're over there? Measure the top and the bottom just to see if it's about what this one is.
Sure.
Are you going to be on that again?
Well, you can do it, once we get those, you can kind of do a screenshot maybe
Okay.
so you can see the
Okay.
part that we changed.
What were we doing where we measure from the tower height adjustment knob, like the front of the forehead rest, this step 3 here? Is that,
It's just from the front.
so it doesn't matter if it's here or
No,
here?
what that means, I believe, is from the front of this, which is level with this.
Okay.
So I always just do it from the front of there.
$82.25.
So that'll just do 82, 822. So if you guys get that, you just multiply it. What's the bottom?
I wonder if you need a.
Yeah, watch out for all that. Mm-hmm.
1.5.
Okay, so 815. So you can see right there, that's where we put those right at the at that bottom line.
Yep.
822 and 815.
Okay, yeah.
You see it? And then the ones at the top are those coordinates, which we didn't have to change this time.
Okay.
Alright, so then we just put those in and then I just save it. And then I just shut down the computer.
Hmm.
Because I have to reboot it in the tracking part.